What's happening, Shredder Nation? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to episode number 111 of Living the Shredder Life. I'm your host, Coach Jesse, ER Shred Health Coach, High Performance Health and Life Coach, and I am joined today by somebody that is an inspiration to me, no joke. Anybody that can go from where this man's gone to where he is today and just continue to push and continue to serve and continue to put out for other people is an inspiration for me. So it's really my pleasure to welcome Isobody finalist, 100-pound club member, just an amazing badass human, dad, husband, Mr. Ed Gonzalez to the show. Welcome, Ed. I'm really excited that we could get together finally.
Thank you, Jesse, and Shredder Nation. It's great to be
Yes.
here. I'm honored.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. I know you and I have tried to get together for weeks now, and just with travel and busy and life and, whatever, but we finally made it happen, and I'm super, super excited. I want to jump in high level, Ed, if you don't mind, because I know without a doubt that there's so many people out there struggling. There's so many people out there suffering. We can try to deny it, but statistically, we can't run from that, right? 93%
Right.
of the population is metabolically unhealthy. By I forgot what it was, 2034, 60% or some outrageous number of Americans are destined to be obese or overweight. And again, this isn't necessarily about the vanity thing. I think we just jump to that because of media, but we're talking true health. We're talking life impact, right? And I think you, out of all people, are going to be the person that can really help open people's eyes to what life is like if we choose one way, and then what life can be like if we decide to serve ourselves and choose another way. I can't think of another better example, honestly, like watching your journey, getting to know you over the last, year plus and in our community and stuff. It's just been awesome. So let's start here, Ed, if you don't mind. Let me share with people something real quick. Wow. Can you explain to me what I'm looking at right now, if you don't mind?
So what you're looking at on the left was the that was the results of where my life had went. We take a yearly trek from the Chicago area to Minnesota every year for a Norwegian festival,
Mm-hmm.
and we were about 40 minutes into the drive, and I fell asleep at the wheel with my wife and three small children in the car. Now I had slept all night, at least 8 to 10 hours. It was over the weekend, so we didn't wake up early. We didn't set alarms. We just woke up and went.
Yeah.
By the time I was about 40 minutes away, I was passed out cold at the wheel.
Wow.
So I pulled over at the Oasis, and I told my wife, "You're gonna have to drive. I can't recover." Usually I was not off before, but this
Yeah.
time was different. This time I was done. So I let her drive. I literally slept the rest of the ride to Minnesota, about 5 hour trip. And I promised her, I was like, you know what? We're gonna do something about this. This has
Yeah.
went too far.
Yeah.
So this was the first step. I went to the doctor. I never had a doctor. So I went to the doctor to see about getting some of this weight off. Can you prescribe me something maybe? And I know, the long-term goal was to have weight loss surgery. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I've lost a few pounds before. I always gain more back. I'm tired of the yo-yo effect. I'm ready to do something for real. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right about that. So the first step was a sleep study to see, what was going on there.
Yeah.
And he made, so this is me in the sleep study
Okay.
with the stuff
Now
on.
you said, in case people didn't catch this, you were driving, you and your family, and you have 3 children, I believe, right? Is that right?
I have 10 children. I have 10 children.
Oh,
I
10
had,
children.
yes, I have 10
I'm
children.
way off. I'm way off. I don't know much
Yeah,
about you at all. My bad.
yeah.
10
Well,
children. I don't
the
know why I thought you had
seven of them are grown up, so you always see the
Okay.
little ones
Okay.
in my,
Okay.
yeah, because
Thanks for
you
saving me. I
know.
appreciate you
Oh
saving me.
yeah, no
I'm a real
problem, no
man.
problem.
Okay.
Yes, three of them were in the car, the three small ones, and my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's where I got here.
Now, would you say I mean, was that rock bottom for you? Was that the lowest point that
That
you've
was the
kind of
bottom. That was the bottom. Yes,
that was the bottom? And I
that was
mean,
the bottom.
look at the picture next to you, and you've not stopped since. I don't know how old that picture is, but I mean, every time I see you, it's like you're like the disappearing man. Like literally, like you've lost human beings. Like you've lost an entire human being off your body at this point in the game. What is your total? What is your total weight loss so far?
So far is 190 pounds.
Oh
I
my
got
god!
about 10 pounds away from my final goal, which right now weight isn't as much of an issue as just being
Yeah,
healthy.
yeah,
But, as far as a number on the scale, I'm about 10 pounds,
yeah.
200-pound club, and 190 right now so far.
Wow. 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 I have no do you have what's your goal? What's the goal? When is the day that Ed Gonzalez is gonna smash it and we can pop bottles and celebrate? When is that target date for you? I know you
So the
got one.
target day was June 1st.
June 1st. Okay.
June 1st.
Okay.
I don't like to lose it quick. I'm doing it the right way. The
Yeah.
whole process has pretty much been the right way. Been
Yeah.
about
Now
three
let's
and a
talk
half
let's talk
years.
yeah, okay, so 3.5 years. I was going to say, how long? People are always going to say, well, how long is this transformation, right? Because everybody, we want this quick fix, right? But how long
Right.
is this journey been for you to get to where you're at? You said 3.5 years is what it's been total so far?
Right, been about 3.5 years. I had a bump during COVID when we were at home for
Yeah.
a month
Yeah.
or so, and I kind of got back into my old person. But I
Okay.
mean, as soon as they let me back out, I was right back to it, and I've been going strong ever since.
Unbelievable. What do you think? I mean, do you think like you just kind of like I find that people that have had these extreme journeys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at first it's like, okay, I need to lose weight, I need to get this, I need to. It's like these things, right? These minutia things is what I really look at them as, right? I think once we continue on the journey, we realize this process is so much deeper. There's spiritual meaning to people. There's all kinds of stuff. Would you say that the actual journey of the physical transformation was harder, or would you say that learning the mental mindset, the past cues that trigger in your brain that have been implanted there for so long, like what's actually the fight of the journey? Because I think a lot of people get this one mixed up.
The fight is definitely more mental.
More
The
mental.
physical part, we can deal with it. When you get your mind right and set, then you're on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like I definitely say mine because now I'm to the point where we talked, a little bit earlier. I have a slip up here and there, and I'm
Yep.
to the point where it doesn't matter. When Monday rolls around,
Mm,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm just back. I'm just back consistent to it.
that's
And I
good.
mean, I know I'm not going to be perfect. I know there's going to be parties where I see something I like, and
Yep.
I'm actually able to get into it. Now, I still haven't got to the point where I can just have one piece.
Okay.
So I'm not there yet, but I
Okay.
can get right back on track after I do
Yeah.
mess up.
I think that's powerful though, Ed. I mean, you acknowledging that and realizing that, is such an important psychological piece of the puzzle that I hope really people pick up on, because you're right, it's not about perfection. It's, people run around. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people run around and just assume that, Jesse doesn't eat a carb, or Jesse won't have, some sugar, or I won't do this. We let this outside perception and persona, you know what I mean? Like really just take over. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. I'm the complete opposite of that. Like I'm at a point now where like I thoroughly enjoy life. If I want to eat something, I eat it guilt free. And I haven't had a significant weight loss journey like yours. I was not, I grew up heavy. I grew up overweight. I was made fun of. I was the fat kid growing up. Like I dealt with all of that. But it was like, kind of coming into adulthood, it was more just like, for me, it was fighting demons of past childhood. It was fighting that. But once it clicked for me, right, and realized like, so I understand what you're talking about. And I hope people will say, you know, let me ask you this. What's been the biggest tricks? Because people are sitting there and they're like, oh man, I can relate to you, Ed. Like, I'm always beating myself up. Like, if I mess up, like, oh, there goes everything. Like, how long do you think it took you to come to that realization that it's not about perfection, that if you have a little bit of a slip up, like, you're not the worst guy in the world. Like, you're just human. It's just a speed bump. Like, what does that process look like?
Actually, the process has basically taken my whole life. I like I said, I've
Okay.
been yo-yo, lose a few, gain a few, and when I got to the point rock bottom is when I understood that I'm not going to be perfect, and I was able to have a cheat day, or might have messed up for the whole weekend, or Thanksgiving it turned into a whole week affair, and
Yeah.
things like that, and was able. My why was so strong that I was able to get right back to it after indulging the way that I did.
What is
I've gained what
what was your why?
my why was the kids when I fell asleep, my kids and wife when I fell asleep at the wheel.
What did that
So
do to
I
you? Like, how did that affect you? Do you mind going back to that place? Because I'm sure it's a memory that is kind of hard to forget, right?
Yeah, well, it was to the point already where it was taking away my living because I was a truck driver. So I
Okay.
drove for a living and I'm out there falling asleep, but
Yeah.
you got to pass a DOT physical standards. And my
Yeah.
blood pressure was always high. And he finally told me, if you come back here high again, I won't give you another card. Like, you're done.
Okay.
And so that was on another point. So I would take somebody's blood pressure pill, which, I don't condone that, but
Yeah.
I did what I had to do. But that's where I was at. High blood pressure, sleep apnea. I could not use the bathroom in public because, one, I probably wouldn't fit. I was 415 pounds. If I did fit, I wouldn't be able to clean myself up. I know that's going pretty deep and a lot of TMI, but that's to the point it was. And
Yeah.
so I would have to go home, even if I was at work, if I was on the road. Like, I've been having severe diverticulitis from a young age, and to the point where I had to have 18 inches of my intestines taken out back in
Mm,
2010 just
mm,
because of the lifestyle that I was living.
yeah.
So I've never been regular. I've always had to take Metamucil or celery juice just to stay regular.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's actually fixed now for the first time in my entire adult life. I'm 48 years old, and I can finally use the bathroom again with no help, and that's only
Wow.
from ER shred.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I just got like goosebumps. I just don't think people. First of all, thank you. Thank you. I don't. I love that it's TMI. If people think it's that, like, whatever. Um, I think this is just the raw truth that so many people don't speak about. And I think that's why, what makes you such an amazing person right now is, like, you could just go about your merry way. You could not share. You could be like, yeah, I did it. But instead, you're sitting here right now. You're courageous enough to I mean, that's a deep thing. I mean, you couldn't go to the bathroom by yourself. You couldn't, do the basic things of life. And I don't think those things are ever thought about. I know they're thought about by people that are struggling because they live it every day. I mean, I watch people that lose their breath from tying their shoe. They can't even bend over to reach their shoe.
I
Never
couldn't
mind
tie it.
reach behind them to clean yourself. I mean, you're talking about the basic things of life that some of you just take for granted. But this is what health is all about. Like, when you gain your health and you finally say yes to yourself, yeah, you're going to lose some weight. Yeah, you're going to get, what everybody perceives to be healthier. But for me, just because I've witnessed so many stories now and I've heard so many people share with me that it's like, this is so much bigger. I mean, we're talking about better quality of life, going to the bathroom on your own, tying your own shoe, being able to give a quality hug to a family member, especially a child. I
Let's say
mean,
your wife
your wife, right? I
at
mean,
night.
gosh, Ed, like,
Like there's
yeah,
things that just didn't work like they were supposed to.
yeah,
And I mean,
yeah,
it's you take the little like I'm still honestly I'm still learning how to walk again. I mean, I've got like the sideways foot
yeah,
and because I've
yeah,
walked like that for so many years that I'm
yeah,
still correcting that. I'm still figuring out that I can just stand up when I want to. I was sitting on the porch last week, me and my wife,
yeah,
and I just stood up and I said, "Did you see that?" She's like, "What?" I said, "I just stood up," and she's looking at me
yeah,
like, I'm like, I just stood up. I didn't have to
yeah,
roll. I didn't have to
yeah,
rock. I didn't have. She's like, okay. But to
yeah,
me, that's the type I'm still learning all this stuff all over again.
yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, I can see with her, it makes sense from like when I try to view from her standpoint, but from you, I can just picture you back there, rocking, trying to get the momentum to just get yourself up, right? Like just give yourself that little boost
You
and
know
then
what we called it?
hopefully,
We called it
what
the
do you call
fat boy roll. Me and her actually made that up together. So I would have to roll over to my knees and like I'd be on my hands and my knees and then I could get up. And
Unbelievable.
we called it the fat boy roll. And I just stood up and I was so excited. The first
Yeah,
time I bent down and tied my shoe, I said, I just tied my shoe. Like,
yeah,
this is crazy. And everybody's like, okay. Where I had gotten to the point where, I wear boots. You got to tie your boots. I bought the zip up boots. So
yeah.
you would tie them first, and then you would just have to lift your foot up or put it on a chair and just zip. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was to the point. That was to that point.
Wow. Um, can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
I know you're very open, but I still like to ask. Um, you in your mind when you're at that point, right? Like, do you know that that's not healthy? Like, do you have those thoughts? Like, wow, like I mean, are you scared of things? Are you scared of loss of life? Are you scared? I mean, like, what gets somebody to that point? Like, what got you to 450 pounds? Like, you had to know, right? Like that. Obviously, things were
Hmm.
getting out of control, and you weren't
Hmm.
feeling good. And obviously, I mean, I don't think anybody's like, oh, I want to be 150, 200 pounds overweight. Like, this is what I'm shooting for. I know there's these weird
Hmm.
shows that where there's maybe a 0.02% of people, you know what I mean? Like
Right. Right.
these weird big weight shows or something. But like, what got you there? Like, what do you think was, have you ever thought about that? Like, what
It,
helped you
w-
get there? Why didn't you take action before?
it was such a strong addiction, and which it
Okay.
still is today. I mean,
Okay.
it gets nowhere near the credit that it deserves. And you can walk down the street and you can see you can point out everyone. I mean, not all of them, but you can point out so many people that are addicted to food,
Yeah.
processed food, carbs, sugars, because just look at them.
Yeah.
Whereas, the drugs, crack, cocaine, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
you just don't see those guys. It doesn't get the attention it deserves. So I was so addicted, which I still am. Like
Yeah.
when I start something and those carbs get going, I'm like,
Hmm.
it's like a frenzy. It's such an
Yeah.
addiction. I mean, it started at a young age. By 9 years old, I was wrestling heavyweight. Heavyweight
Hmm.
at the time was 130 pounds.
Yeah.
By a freshman in high school, I was 315 pounds. I was too heavy to wrestle heavyweight.
Wow.
Like heavyweight limit is 275. I was already 315 as a freshman.
Yeah.
So it's just an addiction. It's just like any drug.
Yeah.
It's such an addiction that I just could not get out of. And like I said, I
Yeah.
would get better, but the addiction was never dealt with. Now the
So this
addiction
is
is being dealt with.
Yeah, I think this is a good point you bring up. When I do a lot of health coaching, Ed, I get people, after they've basically when they hit rock bottom, right? Like they've tried a reconventional approach, they've done 30 different diets at this point. They tried it, they failed. They tried it, they failed. They're counting, they're this, the doctor's putting them on pills. They're not getting any information. And most people think that they're going to come see me and I'm going to be like, okay, eat this, eat that, don't eat this, don't eat that. And in fact, it's the complete opposite. I don't tell you what to eat or
Y-
what to don't eat. Like that's minutia stuff to me. You know what I mean? Like that's irrelevant. Like, you know what to eat. I think we all know what we're supposed to eat. Like, do I really have to tell you that you shouldn't down a bag of freaking Frito-Lays? Do I really have to tell you that Doritos are probably crack in a bag? Like, do I really have to share that with you? Or do you really have, like, right? Do I have to tell you
Right.
Twinkies aren't good for you? Like, do you need me to tell you that? Like, no, right? What I'm more
Right.
interested in is the psychology behind why are we here now? And 9.7989567431% of the time, it has something to do with childhood. It has something to do with, we learned this way, we got taught this way, there's been some sort of past trauma, the family connection to food. This is just, I hear this a lot. This is just what we do. This is just what I do. Like, I'm Italian, so this is what I do. I'm Portuguese, so this is what I
Mm-hmm.
do. I am, you know
Right.
what I mean? I'm Spanish, so this is what I eat. And I'm like, well, okay. Like, but like, I'm always curious on how we got there, and with you sharing that, it started at 9 years old. And I think that's really good that adults can hear that, is like, look, like, we got to stop beating ourselves up every day for what we're doing today, because sometimes it might not even be our fault, and it's really hard. Nobody says that, but as a coach, I'm like, look, like, this might not be your fault, right? Like, if you've never been taught and you've just been lied to over the years, and from an early age you were being fed these things that you thought were food, that you put the connection, mind and body, to this is food because that's what we learned. And then that builds up, right? Because we know what happens when we eat processed foods and excess sugars and all these grains and flours. Like, we're going to start messing up the hormones. We're going to mess up the blood sugars. We're going to mess up, we're not going to get into the science of all that, but we're going to mess up a lot of things. And it's kind of like, once you get to that point, it's like an avalanche, dude, right? Like, you can't stop it, even if you know it's not good for you, right? Like, when you were 400 pounds, before you said yes, like, you were still choosing a lot of crappy stuff. And I don't think that you intentionally were like, oh, I know this is healthy. Like, you weren't lying to yourself saying this is healthy, right? Like, you knew that what you were choosing, but yet what you're saying is that addiction was so strong that you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a vehicle. You didn't have a way out. So, like, what else were you supposed to do? You know what I mean? Right? Is that kind of like what
Right.
where you're, am I
That's
reading
it.
that right?
That's exactly, because you get to the point where your life is not as important as that addiction. And
Oh,
my addiction, of course, was the food. I've had many other addictions with smoking and
yeah.
drugs, here and there in my younger years.
Yeah.
But the food has been the constant. And I mean, I hit heavyweight by 9 years old, but it actually started in first grade when they made me sit down. Because
Okay.
my name as a toddler, my nickname was actually Hot Rod, because I was always all over the place, little skinny kid. And
Yeah.
once I had to sit down in class, that was it.
Interesting.
Yep, that
Yeah.
was it. And I mean, we
Interesting.
were poor. We grew up poor. It was just my mom.
Yeah.
So when food came, it was, you know, different food. We got a lot of
Yeah.
government assistance, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was pig out time,
Yeah.
because we didn't know what was coming next. And like you said
Yeah.
about thinking it was food, we had the day old bakery. I don't know if you remember those. So
Yeah.
you would go in, the stuff
Yeah.
was either expired or getting ready to expire. You get everything for little to nothing. And we'd have
Pennies on
ho
the dollar.
hos,
Pennies on the
right?
dollar.
Ho hos, chips. And I mean, yeah, that was what we lived on.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Mm. I'm listening to your story, and I can't help but feel this sense of empathy for so many millions of people right now in that situation. I have I'm not going to get into government assistance and how jacked up and ass backwards that all is, and the way that, I mean, it's really sickening to me, the way that that program is set up, it's portrayed to help people, but really what we're doing is
keeping them there.
We're destroying people. We're
Yeah.
I mean, it goes from giving the money to that, so you buy that, but then the money's coming right back because you're getting paid from the medical services and then the government and it makes me so disgusted when you start to connect these dots on how these systems work and how they really aren't there to really help anybody. And you take a guy like yourself who's just an amazing person, and it's like you get trapped in that, right? You get trapped in that. And this can happen to people that, are totally on the other side of the spectrum. I mean, you're talking about government assistance, Ed, but I see this from people who grew up in very affluent situations. I see this from people who have money. I regularly visit people's houses for one of my businesses, and I'm in very, very high-end houses on a daily basis. I'm talking really high-end houses, and I've come to the conclusion this is not a money thing. This is not a money thing, because these people have plenty of money to buy anything they want. And yet I still see the same garbage sitting in people's pantries over and over and over and over and over again. I see their children eating it. I'm like, my God, this is such a vicious cycle of just not good that so many people are stuck in, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. But anyways, okay. So thank you for sharing that. I don't want to take too much time away from your story because I could get really heated with that. So I'm gonna digress and pause the Jesse inside me.
Passionate, man.
We're gonna get back to. I just want people to feel awesome, dude. I want people to feel like you today, because I believe everybody deserves what you're experiencing today. And you still have, like you said, a road to go. But man, the difference, like I know, I'm going to get into sharing the differences of life, from then to now. But this is just remarkable to me. I mean, you went from a guy who was really set up for failure, who had nothing. And I highlight that, Ed, because there's a lot of people that will use that excuse and let that ruin the rest of their life. There's a lot of people that will sit with that and play the victim mentality for the rest of their life. And I feel really, really bad for those people, because I don't even think they realize that there's a way out. I don't think they think there's hope, So that's my next point is you're at rock bottom. You fall asleep in the car with your wife and 3 kids. You say to her, we need to do something about this. Now, a thought is great. Everybody has thoughts. Explain to everybody, if you will, how does somebody go from where you were or where they're at now, because this is their story, but we want to highlight yours. How do you make this commitment, and how do you even get started? How do you even find the right path? Like, how did your journey to health start from where you were?
So the journey went, once I hit rock bottom, that was the cause. And then the effect was taking that first step. And of course, my first step at the time was going to see the doctor and trying to get some instant gratification, because that's how my whole life has been. I want it right now.
Yep.
So
and how did that work for you? Like, what happened?
Well, you wanted to set up the test, but really everything was just getting set up for the surgery so that he could get it approved. So you got to go through a process to get this done. So I can't operate on you.
Weight loss.
Right. Weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery.
Okay.
So you got to get it approved. So you got to go through these steps. But he tells me, I can't approve you at this weight. You have to lose between 1 to 2 pounds per week. I'll see you in 6 weeks. So I got to lose between 6 and 12 pounds. I'm like, I can do that.
Okay.
So that's when I had been connected with Alvy Shepherd since 2014.
Yep.
And he was reaching out to me and I was reaching back, and now I'm looking back at our old conversations, and I was that guy, well, I don't have the money right now. I'm interested. I don't have, can you give me a deal? And I'm looking, and I'm kind of getting sick at myself, because I'm like, man, these are how the same people are treating me now.
Yeah.
And so I finally said yes, and I started, and I mean, I lost 30 pounds right away, like in the first month. And I said, I'm not going back.
Okay, there's so many people stuck. There's so many people stuck in that exact same excuse. That exact same excuse. I think it's funny how connected fitness and finance are. I'm learning from this amazing financial guy, and he's also big into fitness. And I never put this connection together, but I'm like, wow, right? Like, so the initial steps, right? Like the things that get us going and such. I forgot my point I was going to go, but I'm going to go back to this. Alvy Shepherd that man is amazing. For those that don't know, Alvy Shepherd has not the exact story as Ed, but Alvy Shepherd's story is just as dramatic. I mean, Alvy had, he was a professional baseball player. He got an injury. It kicked him out of baseball at a young age. When you're an athlete and that's your whole life, you lose focus. Alvy turned to drugs. He ballooned up, I think, to like 325 or something plus pounds. There's pictures of him. He's a big giant, and he found himself in the hospital, I think with a brain aneurysm, right? Or something like that.
Right. That's right.
He had this awakening, this realization, this rock bottom moment. I don't know why we all have to wait to get to rock bottom to make a move. I wish we wouldn't, right. But unfortunately, so many of us have to get to rock bottom to make this movement. And then this is the man that's divinely connected to you, right? To try to get you over this hump. What an amazing person that was lined up to be the one to get you over that hump, because I can imagine he was in that same place. I remember him telling the story on stage. Like, he told his person no. He had to keep putting himself in a bigger hole until finally he had this awakening and he called this person, and then the story is history. I mean, the man made an amazing transformation. He was the Isobody Grand Prize, finalist and winner, and his whole life changed, right? He's one of our ICI's millionaires now. And I mean, the man is just a big teddy bear. He's one of the most humble guys ever. What did he initially say to you? I mean, when you're fighting yourself is my main question here, but I want people to get the background of Alvy. When you're fighting yourself with that excuse, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I can't. What is it that got you to finally click and release that old thought pattern so you could open up the area to allow yourself to grow?
So I think it was when I got put in the same situation. Matter of fact, I know it was. And I knew there was a solution because, we start talking in 2014. So I watched his whole Isobody thing too, which was 2016. And I still, it wasn't enough, to make me spend $300 or $400 on a pack. Yeah. Like, I mean, I got money, but I don't have money for that. You got the money. You just have the money for what you want to spend it on. And
you're just allocating it towards.
Yeah. That wasn't my priority. Right. I mean, you can go spend $100 on a dinner and not bat an eye.
You know what I mean?
And all you do is put it in the toilet. But add 2 more hundred and you got food for a month. Like, you don't think like that. You think, your addiction and I got money for that. I don't have money for this. Yeah. But the time was that accident. And, when I just looked at my wife and how disappointed she was, and we gotta fix this. I can't kill you guys. It's one thing if I kill myself. Yeah. It's another thing if I kill you guys. Wow. That was different. So that's what woke me up is when you're going to kill those guys, your favorite people, that's a big wake up call.
Yeah. I think it's important that we share this. I mean, you watch the man. I mean, guys, go just go into Facebook and search Alvy Shepherd. You'll see his transformation pictures. And what Ed's saying to you is, I mean, it's drastic. It's as drastic as this. It's literally as drastic as this, right? Like, Alvy's in a hospital, hooked up to machines, and the second picture is Alvy standing on stage, ripped, shredded, confetti flying everywhere, big check of $25,000, family surrounding him. I mean, it's that drastic of a difference. You watched that with your own 2 eyes, and yet that journey still wasn't enough to push you. And yet you had to fall asleep at the wheel. What would you say to anybody, Ed, who was that Ed in 2014? What message would you give to that person? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what do you
So
want to
so
deliver to them?
to that person, your life may not seem as important to you as it should be, but those others around you are. And your why has to be stronger than anything else. And if it's not, and you're not really ready, it'll never happen. But you have to find your why and run with it and just make that first step. Make that first step, give it a solid 30 days. And if you mess up, just get right back on it. Just get right back on it. You will thank yourself a million times later.
Mm, mm, wow. I'm like literally like when you're talking about, your life and how, you and people in your situation, I'm reflecting back on me, even though my story is different, but I remember that time in life where I really didn't think it was even worth being here. My life didn't matter. Like we can start to play these stories, and I just want to piggyback off your statement and say your life absolutely matters. Your life matters more than you'll ever even imagine, right? And what Ed's sharing is, if that means you got to borrow somebody else's belief, if you have to, I hate this term, but fake it till you make it, and trick yourself to believing, if you need to reach out for help, if you need to get a therapist, a coach, there is nothing wrong with that. I know society has labeled that. I have a coach, I have a therapist. I will openly admit that to you. I would never do that in the past, but it has been the most game changing thing for me. And that doesn't mean it's perfect. I struggle all the fucking time. I think everybody thinks it's peaches and cream. Like it's not. But your life is so worth it. And I just hope you heed that message from me and Ed. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Ed. So Alvi finally gets you to commit. You're ready. You hit this thing. Um, what did it look like when you started going?
It uh it was awesome. I would like to sit here and tell you that I had such a hard time,
Yeah.
but I didn't. Once this was in the right place, man, I was all in. I was
Mm,
all in. And like I said, the first 30 days, I was already down about 30 pounds.
wow.
So, needless to say, I never returned to the doctor. I did return a couple months ago just for a physical and, to show him, because he told me you might lose weight, but you're going to gain it back again plus some. The only decision we have to make for you is which surgery to do on you. I believed it as well because I've been down every diet, every program, everything since I was a little kid. My mom took me to these fat camps and these fat farms at the hospital. I've tried everything, and so I believed him, and I already had that thought as well because that's why I went to the hospital. I knew I had to get the weight off, but I mean, it was just amazing. Within the first week, I gained my mobility back, and I was able to clean myself up in the bathroom without
Mm,
having to get in the shower. So I
mm,
mean, right away I saw changes like that, and
yeah.
I mean, just one week, and I'm like, this is great, and I just kept going. I
Wow.
had like a celebration, a cheat meal, which I don't encourage, especially
Yep.
at the beginning. But my
Mm,
mind was so focused that I was right back to it on Monday. So I did, and right back to it.
yeah. Wow. Um, Unbelievable. I mean, the power of, you know, I'm almost nervous to say the power of your why is everything, but it really is. And I'm nervous to say that because I've watched so many people, myself included, struggle to figure out what my why is. Struggle to figure out what my why is. Um, all I can share with you, if you feel stuck, your why can be the simplest thing, and understand that it's your life. It's your life. Nobody else has to get excited about your why. Nobody else has to feel that your why is strong enough, as long as you feel that it is. And if your why is you just want to be able to not have to go in the shower to clean yourself, that's a pretty damn good why. If your why is you just don't want to, you don't feel that you deserve to wake up feeling like crap every day, and that's as simple as it is, that's your why. Because your why is going to change, right, Ed? Like your why is going to get deeper. You're going to start to explore. Like I would imagine your fundamental why is still your family and your children. It's still what makes you make the right decisions when temptations arise and bad days happen. And, life is just life. Like it gets in the way, right? But I'm sure, I mean, have you added layers onto this now? Like, aspirations, goals, things you want to do? Like, don't you feel your why changes like as we continue to develop and stuff as well?
Yes, exactly. And
For sure,
that's
right?
now my why is kind of turning more toward me. And
Okay.
like I said, from using the bathroom, from from getting my body in shape instead of weight, now it's to get my body in shape.
Mm,
Over since I started this program, we never I've been married I was married 12 years and I finally got to take my honeymoon.
wow.
We had never been on a family vacation. We
Mm,
finally got to take that, and now we've taken my multiple. I had never been in any ocean. Now I've been in the Atlantic, the Pacific, and I went with Isogenics to Cancun as well. So I was in the Gulf of Mexico.
mm,
And I mean, these are all things done. I've never had a passport, got my first passport. These are all things that I've only done since being on this journey. And I mean,
wow.
like I said, I'm 48 years old.
Yeah.
I've so many firsts over the last 2 years. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, your why
I
continually
love
changes.
always, right? I love that we're
Hmm.
talking about all these things that aren't typically talked about when it comes to weight loss, aren't typically talked about when it comes to health. Like this is it. Like when we say, health is your greatest wealth, and if you decide to get control of it, how it can change every facet of your life. I mean, Ed sharing with you literally real life, right? Like this isn't somebody, this is a real life story of his that he's been able to do. And look at all these amazing things that have come into your life that you never would have even dreamed about doing, right? Like you would have never even thought that it was possible. And this all happened because you decided to say yes to yourself finally and kept saying yes even when it was hard, even when you felt like a failure, even when things felt like they were going backwards, even when you felt like you were stalled, you just kept saying yes, one more, one more, one more, one more, one more, one more. And like money, those one mores creates this compounding effect. And once you reach a certain level, it's like a freaking avalanche, man. Like it's like unstoppable the shit that can happen, right? Do you feel that? Like, do you feel
I
that? I mean,
feel that.
like to me, you're that avalanche right now, dude. Like you're knocking anything down that comes in your way. There's nothing that can stop you. Like it's just more and more and more. And anything that's there, you're just going to destroy it, right? It's that avalanche effect because you've had so many wins now that one little thing isn't going to deter you, right? Like one little oopsie isn't going to throw you off course, and if people are out there being like, yeah, well, that's great for Ed, but I can't do that. It's great for Ed, but I'm in a different situation. You heard that before?
I gotta give this credit to my wife because she kind of put it into perspective,
Hmm.
and I use it often now, even though she's the creator. But
Yeah.
I didn't lose 190 pounds. I lost 1 pound 190 times. And when you
Oh,
look at it like that,
wow.
1 pound at a time, who can't lose a pound? Let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's do another pound. People get discouraged. I only lost a pound this week. That's awesome. 52 weeks, you lost 52 pounds.
Mm,
Stay consistent. Don't quit. Don't ever give up on yourself.
mm. That is so profound. That is, your wife's a genius.
She is. I got
I'm
to give her
gonna
credit on
tell
that one.
her. Yeah, you need to tell her. I'm going to steal that too. I need that for my. I need my people to know that you're not losing 200 pounds. You're losing 1 pound 200 times.
Yep.
Wow.
200 victories.
That.
Instead of one victory, you got 200 victories. You talk about building confidence. My
Yeah.
confidence is so high right now. Even though I'm not where I want to be as far as in the mirror, I can see myself melting every day.
Yeah.
And just following this program, it's not an instant fix. So you don't have to worry about your skin just flopping over on you. You're
Yeah.
losing a little bit at a time, and it's actually tightening up. And I mean, it's such a sight for sore eyes. And it seems like every time I go in the mirror, I'm like getting closer, getting closer, getting
Yeah.
closer. I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
great feeling.
Oh, I'm so happy for you, man. Talk to me about, you just brought up your wife, and I feel like she was such an important role in this journey and still is. Um, you mentioned you went back to the doctor, and even though you lost 30 pounds, even though you were doing good, your doctor, the person who's supposed to be your partner and support you in health, he says to you flat out, "Oh, you're going to lose some weight, but you'll gain it back. We still need to
No, that
figure out
was
the
that
surgery."
was that was from that was from the beginning when
Oh, that
he
was from
told
the
me that.
beginning. From the
Yeah. So
very
after
beginning.
right after I lost the weight, I didn't go back until just a couple months ago. I was already down. I was already down over 160 pounds by the time I went
Same
back.
doctor.
And
Same
same,
same
yeah,
doctor.
same. And he says, keep doing what you're doing. So,
That's all
but
he
he
says
was,
to you.
keep doing what you're doing. Your numbers are perfect. No high blood pressure, cholesterols. I mean, everything was like right in the green. Perfect. Sugars.
I give you a lot of credit, in all honesty, for still seeing that same doctor. I give you a lot of credit for still seeing that same doctor. Because I
Right.
but I also want people to realize, like, you're also not alone in this, right? Like, again, you're not nobody's coming to save you. And when I say that, people get mad sometimes and like, oh, I'm like, no one is coming to save you. The doctor's not going to save you. The government's not going to save you. No one is going to save you. You must step up to the plate and swing at the freaking pitch, right? Like, you have to be the one. This is your doctor who, from the beginning, told you you're not going to make it. Now, mind you, you're already fragile. You already have no confidence. You've already had the shit beaten out of you for multiple years of your life. And this guy's telling you that you're not going to make it. And something inside you says, oh, yeah, watch me, right? Oh, yeah, watch me.
Hmm.
Like, you bet on you. For some reason, Ed, you bet on you. Talk to me about the power of community and why that's such an important piece of this journey. Because I would imagine that your support system, from Alvi to the Isogenics family, now to the ER Shred family, from your wife and your kids, like, what should people know about a community, and how important is that in you reaching your ultimate goals?
See, and that was a big part of me going back to see him too, just to show him. I had to show him.
I know,
I
and I
had to
love that
show him.
about you. I
I
love that
had
you
to
did that.
show him, you know.
And all
But
he said to you was, keep doing what you're doing. Not I was wrong. I'm sorry.
right.
Like,
Nope.
how can you,
Nope.
Ed, possibly now help all my other people? But no, he's going to keep telling them that they're no good, and he's going to keep scheduling surgeries. Why? Because he's getting paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do these surgeries that I despise because they're horrible. They're
Right.
horrible for people. Like, they should be outlawed, right? And all he says to you is, keep doing what you're doing.
And get this COVID vaccine.
And get the COVID. All right, let's not get
Right,
into all
right.
that. But
He's like, well, you
get
need
this.
it. But as far as the community I'm in now, the community I'm with you guys, right from the beginning, everybody was, so open, helping. They want to see you succeed. I think as bad as you want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
People you don't even know, just bringing you up, raising you up, and I mean, it was amazing. I was already amazed at the isogenics community, and then I got in the ER shred community, and I mean, it turned it up another level because now you're in a community that's not financially tied to you.
Mm.
These guys, you're not helping them at all financially. My team, I am.
Right.
These guys, I'm not. And I mean,
Right.
just the love and help I've received from you and Sean and the rest of the community, just showing me love. Mimi Terrell and Bonnie, and I mean, too many names to list, but
Yeah.
it's just, if you can't find some love here, you probably got to look at the mirror, because it's not the community. It's you
Wow.
have to figure out what's going on with you.
If you can't find some love here, you got to look at the mirror. Mr. Ed Gonzalez. That's a quote. That's a quote. That's a quote for the promo.
uh, well,
Oh, dude. So would you, I mean, do you think that's an essential piece, is making sure you have that support community? Because let's be honest, like, I think everybody thinks, we see this story. Oh my God, this guy lost 190 pounds. We look at these, we look at these before and after pictures, and we're like, oh my God, look at that. Like, we see the story, we see this glory, right? But we don't ever really understand the whole story. I mean, this is a 3.5-year journey. Like, this hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for you, right? Like this, I mean, there's been some struggle, right? There's been some, what some people would call backwards moments, right? Where I call those learning lessons, as long as we're strong enough and we can tap into what we've gained from those so-called failures, right? I don't think anything's a failure if we learn something from it. It's a stepping stone. I think we've got to redefine these things in our brain, right? This is why the psychology of understanding weight loss and understanding health really kind of ties into so much. But that community, like you're saying, is an important piece of the puzzle. I would imagine your wife and kid, I mean, what do they think about all this now? Like, I mean, what's life like today for Ed? I mean, what are you able to do now that you weren't ever able to do with your kids? I mean, what's changed with that?
oh, it's night and day, night and day. As far as playing, we couldn't play. Now we play. We go on bike rides. I couldn't ride a bike because the tires couldn't support me. I was looking to like the fat tire big boy bikes. They were like two to 3 grand, so that wasn't there. But I mean, every day, me and my daughter, you want to do a set, and she says, "Yep," and we go in another room and start doing push-ups.
Yeah.
One is 6, one is 9. I mean, so you look at that from where we were to, I would just come home. I actually have a collage made. I would come home, eat, because that's my toughest time is after work. I would come home, eat, and sleep. I always made sure I had a comfy recliner, and gone. I don't even have a recliner no more. I rarely sit in a chair.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
the life is so different. I go to sleep at bedtime. That's it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're doing things. We're part of a new church now. I mean, it's basically started around when I started this,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's kind of went hand in hand. Where I always give all glory to God, because I know without Him in my corner, I would have never been able to start, much less make it this far.
Yeah.
So, when I think about losing my life or thought about it, I'm pretty confident at where I'm going, but you got to live the right way as well.
You got a second chance, Ed, and you didn't pass it up. You got a second chance at life. You
Yes.
did, brother. You got a
Oh,
second chance.
a totally different life. I mean, maybe I would have stayed alive. Maybe I wouldn't have had that heart attack or that accident. But what
Yeah.
kind of quality, what kind of memories would have been made in that? You
Right.
know, not ones that I would want to remember. Now
Yeah.
we actually have memories, and we can look at, the pictures and the calendar. We did this and we did that. And
Yeah.
I'm so blessed. So blessed.
Man, I'm a dad of 2 kids. This is tapping my heartstrings. I can only imagine. You know, I told my wife the other day, I was like, you know, I take for granted the things I can do. You know, as I'm throwing my little guy up and around, and I'm spinning
Hmm.
him around my body, and I'm bear crawling on the floor, and I'm running in circles around my kitchen island, and I'm ducking down, and I'm getting back up, and I'm jumping, and I'm doing frog jumps with them. And I was like, well, I gotta not take this for granted, because there's so many people that can't experience this. And you were one of those guys that couldn't experience that. So I can't, I mean, I can't even imagine from just a dad standpoint how much of a just better human you must feel like every day, right? Like, I mean, that had to have pulled at you so much. I mean, now thankfully your children are still so young, right? But I mean, they were 3. You said they're what, 6 and 9 now?
I
When
have
you were
6,
6,
9,
one was
and
3.
12.
Okay,
6, 9,
so
and 12
9.
at home.
Yeah. Okay. So thank God that you had this realization, this awakening, right? At that point, because gosh, these are the most precious years, right? This 3, 4, 5, 6, when they're, I mean, I'm just thinking every day my little dude is learning, he's doing new,
Hmm.
we're figuring out new activities, and you were missing out on all of that. You know, you were missing
What
out on
makes
all
it
of
what what makes it heavy on my heart is it takes me back to the older kids
that. Mm,
and the difference of life that they experience compared to these kids. And I mean, I feel like when I think of that, I feel like a total failure. And I apologize to them, and
yeah,
because I wasn't the man I was supposed to be.
yeah.
So to see the difference, I mean, it gets me down,
Yeah.
but I also know it helped me become who I am today.
I love that. I love that. Do any of your older kids have kids?
I have one of my oldest son has two daughters. Yeah.
How grateful are you to be where you are now? So, you know, you can look back and say, you know, I wasn't the man I was supposed to be, and I'm sorry for that. But man, I can be the best grandpa on the face of this planet now, and I'm sure that your older ones are going to be super grateful for that and super thankful for that, because you're now that grandpa that can get on the floor and crawl with his grandkids. You're now that grandpa that can ride bikes. You're now that grandpa. You are that
Yeah.
guy now. Like, that's who Ed Gonzalez is today, you know. And I think it's important for people to realize, you know, we don't have to be the past versions of ourselves if we don't want to be, right? Like, gosh, Ed, I lost so many years of my life because of stupid things I chose to do when I was younger, and I have now killed that version of Jesse. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't even know who the hell that was. I don't know who that person was. I don't even know what was going on. You know, and it took a long time, but I just want people to know there's hope, right? I always want to leave people with, no matter where you are, no matter how bad you think it is, there is hope. There is hope. And yes, there are tragic things. There are horrible diseases in this world. There are things that, really bad things that happen to really good people, right? But I see some of those people too, and we all have heard these stories. Like, the people that still try to find the good and find the hope, right? Even if bad things happen, are just such amazing people. So I hope people can leave with that, right? Like, leave from your stories, leave from what you're sharing. Like, there's hope for you. Like, your life's not over. You're not the past version of yourself. Your life does matter. It 100% matters, right? And yes, it's worth it. Like, yes, it is freaking worth it for you to say yes. And it's never too late, right? It's never too late.
No,
I mean,
never
gosh,
too
Ed,
late.
you're 48, and this journey, it took you, what you said, 3.5 years, right?
Three and a
So
half years.
you were 44 and a half years old. You were my age right now when you decided, when you made this realization. And in 3.5 short years, 44 years it took you. And in 3.5 years, this is what I don't realize that people think, right? It's like, I'm like 44 years it took you to get there. 3.5 years it took you to get out. Do you regret anything at all? Would you have changed anything at all? The good, the bad, the hard, would you change anything from what you're experiencing today?
The only thing I would change is I would have started sooner. I would have committed to myself and started sooner. And I look back and see at these old messages with me and Alvy, and I mean it's been coming across my mind a lot lately.
Yeah.
He had me speak at one of his events last weekend.
Yeah.
That's when it kind of got in there. Like, man, where would you be now? And it's hard for me not to look back. I know we're not supposed to, but it's hard for me not to think about what if.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been, like I said, the last couple of weeks since I spoke at his event, it's been like, what if?
Yeah.
But hey, we got to move forward. Today's the new day. Let's move forward. Today's day one. Today is always day one.
Yeah. I think that's okay to look back. I've learned through a lot of personal development, studying and coaching and courses, and it's okay to reflect back, right? Because I think that reminds us of what we don't want, right? And it's like, wow, like I did do that. I was an asshole. I did make bad choices. I wasn't the person that I was. Like, I can confidently admit that today, but I can also say, like, that's not me. Like, I don't know. I can't explain everything, but that's not me. It's not who I'm choosing to be today. And I think that's the biggest thing that I hope people, can grasp onto, is that every single day that we get the gift of waking up to breathing, literally to breathing, because I think we take that for granted too. There are sadly people that woke up today, or that people that didn't wake up today. They went to bed and they didn't wake up. They don't have the gift of breath anymore. And every day that we wake up with the gift of breath, we have the ability to rewrite the next chapter. We have a blank page. I know this seems so basic, but if you can really allow this, like, you woke up with a blank page, Ed, and you decided to become a different author. You decided to write a different story than the story that you had been writing for 44 years. And that novel today is completely different from the one then. But if you don't at least look back and say, wow, what if, or I wonder if I did this, like, that's okay. That's okay. As long as you're not beating yourself up. And I know you're not doing that, but I think it's an important message for people to hear, is that what he's saying to you is, go ahead and look back. Like, you can be ashamed. You can be, sad. You can have all those feelings. They're normal feelings. But you also can't deny that you have the power to choose differently right now. Right now, right at this very second, you have the ability to change things. And I think if people just understood the power, you're a walking example of what can happen, Ed, when you take control of that and you make that choice, right? And I think that's an important thing for people to kind of really grasp onto.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Unbelievable. What are the things that are on your heart that we can maybe close out with, that we can share with people? I can't believe it's already been an hour. I feel like I could just keep talking to you and talking to you. I feel like it's been like 10 minutes. I mean,
that was a quick hour.
I have so many more questions, bro, but I'm trying to like get so many pieces for people. But I'm like, I have so many more questions because, golly, did you overcome the inevitable? I mean, you overcame something so dramatic that so many people just get so stuck in. Like, what else is on your heart? Is there anything I missed? Anything that you want to share at all?
So maybe in the future, after I get where I want to be, we'll do a part 2,
100%.
Right. And go from 100%. There. But just don't do this alone. You don't have to do this alone, but you do have to do it. Don't do it alone. Find somebody to come along this journey with you, because that's what I noticed. With me helping other people, I'm accountable. Like I can't expect them to follow me and let me talk, health and help to them, and I'm not being an example of it myself.
Yeah.
Bring somebody along with you that's in the same situation or a similar situation to you.
Mhm.
You don't have to do this alone. Find you somebody, an accountability partner, or somebody who is just going to hold you accountable from helping them, and it makes it so much easier. Like I've fallen back, but I'm like, I gotta help these people. I
Yep.
even thought, a couple months I was low on money. Well, maybe I won't place my order this month. Nah, you're gonna place your order. You're gonna make it work. You gotta help others. You have to be the example, and it just helps keep me accountable. So
Uh,
my final thing would be, don't do this alone. You have
mm,
so many other people that need this gift.
what a beautiful
They
message.
need it as bad as you do.
Beautiful message. And if you're a person, you're like, well, Ed, I don't have anybody. I literally don't have anybody. There's a site scrolling on the bottom of your screen right now. www.ershredders.com. Almost 30,000 other like-minded people. It is one of the greatest communities that I have ever had the privilege of being a part of. It continues to grow. It continues to thrive. People are transforming every single day before our eyes in that community. If you don't have anyone, I'm going to call bullshit. And I just gave you a free resource, free FREE, free resource, www.ershredders.com. We welcome all. Ed's already shared that story of what happened when he came, and look at what's happened now. Like, we're not stopping anytime soon. Ed, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for showing up, for being the man that you are, for sharing your story, for helping other people, for just continuing to say yes. You are a true inspiration to, I believe, can be thousands and thousands of people, to yourself, to your children, to your family, to your grandchildren. I hope you take all that in, because man, that is awesomeness. You are leading and serving in a way that you deserve to serve for now, that you were born to do. I really believe that. And I'm just so freaking proud of you, bro. I'm so proud of
Thank
you
you,
for how
man.
far you've come.
Thank
Like,
you.
that is not easy what you've done. Um, and you're passing hope to everybody. And I hope people can grab that from you. I really truly do. So guys,
Thank you. I'd
drop in.
like to extend my thanks as well.
Oh, for sure. It's my pleasure, bro. And you know, if you need something, I can help you. I'm there for you. I don't have all your answers, but I can sure be that person that you're talking about. So,
Thank you, man.
guys,
Thank you.
drop into the comments, share some love, pour some love on Ed, get into his feed, make sure you're liking his stuff, drop into the comments, let him know, what did you gain from this? What value? What are you taking away from this? What are you going to commit to yourself to do when it comes to your health and wellness? What is it that you're going to commit to do? Please drop into the comments. Let us know. Ed, again, thank you so much. Thank all of you for showing up, giving us your time. We'll catch you in a couple weeks from now with another episode. We hope you have an amazing night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks,
Thank you.
Ed.
Bye.
All
Thank you,
right, guys.
brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Damn, bro. Oh, he left. Oh.